Hey guys, it's ID, and as you can see, we have a new background, a new setting. That's because we are in a new place. So, trying out a new setup. I hope you guys don't mind. I definitely miss my old setup, but I think this one's pretty cool too. So, trying something different. For today, I wanted to talk about the topic of flakiness. What is flakiness? And why do we care? And why do LA people, and not even just LA people, California people, West Coast people, but specifically Californians, they suffer immensely from flakiness. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about it because coming from the East Coast, from New York, it was not a way of life. So just wanted to warn folks that are moving out to the West Coast about this flaky life that people live out here. So let's get into it. So, number one, what is flakiness? Flakiness is people not following through on what they say they're going to do. That's the simplest summary that I can provide. Specifically in a context where you're supposed to meet up with them or where you're arranging some sort of plan, usually a social activity, and you make plans or you make a plan to make a plan, and people don't follow through. So to give an example, let's say you go out to some kind of event, or maybe you go to someone's birthday party, you meet some new folks, you connect, you have some similar interests, you realize you might have even mutual friends, maybe you went to the same school, maybe you both moved at the same time, whatever it is, right? You connect in a meaningful way. And so then by the time they say, hey, should we keep in touch? Should we meet up again? What do you think? Of course, innocent as you are, you're going to say, totally, would love to, with every intent of actually following through on that and actually meeting with the person and hanging out. The Californian will say the same. Yes, totally excited, can't wait. Unfortunately, with no full intent of actually doing so, which is what you might not realize in the moment. So you might exchange information, exchange Instagrams, maybe even follow each other. They follow you back, everything's looking good. You might even get a message, if you're working with an educated and, well-mannered Californian, you might even get a message where they're saying, it was so great to meet you, have a good night, can't wait to meet up. But then what you will find is one of two things. Either one, you don't, message back at a later point to actually initiate and make the plans, which in that case, you'll find that if you don't initiate, they are not going to initiate. That's scenario number one. Scenario number two is you do initiate and you say, hey girl, or hey dude, hey man, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, whenever it was, we said we're going to meet up. There's this thing going on. Do you want to join? Or, are you free next Saturday? Let's get together. And you wait. And you wait. And you keep waiting. If, again, they're relatively well-mannered, they might give you the courtesy of a response and say, oh, I'm not free, but, definitely next time. This is the beauty of the Californian. They will leave it open-ended. They will not say, oh, I'm not free this Saturday. Let's try next Saturday. Or, oh, 7 p.m. doesn't work for me. How about 1 p.m.? No, they will just say, I'm not free, or I don't know if I'll be free. I'll get back to you, or they'll just leave it open-ended. That's if they're well-mannered. If they're not well-mannered, there are two more scenarios. Scenario one is they'll say, oh yeah, totally, next Saturday, 7 p.m. for sure. And then 4 p.m. that Saturday, you just maybe check in to confirm, hey, what time are you heading out, or are we still good? And then an hour before, they'll be like, oh, can't make it, sorry. Or they just don't show up. You just won't see them. And it's very, very interesting because on the East Coast, coming from New York, when you tell somebody you're going to do something, I'm going to meet up, or I want to get coffee, I want to see you, whatever it is, people follow through, and they follow through to a T. Like Saturday, 7 p.m., you know, Starbucks, or at the Met, Central Park West, 74th Street and 2nd Avenue, like very specific, you know? And people will generally follow through, and if for whatever reason they can't make it, they will send you a message, usually at least 12 hours in advance, saying, you know, hey girl, I thought I was going to make it, but this thing came up, I'm so sorry. How about, you know? They'll propose a new day and time. So these are the little things that I took for granted, leaving the East Coast, coming to the West Coast, that everybody just does this. But what I very rudely learned when I moved here many years ago, here being California and West Coast in general, is that it's not like that here. And it's something that would get me so frustrated and so upset that people would do this, that it got to a point where I basically stopped even trying to really make friends. Whenever I would meet people and we would connect, no matter how deep the connection was, no matter how authentic the connection was, I just wrote them off, because I was just like, so many times this has happened. I don't have time for this. I don't got time. I don't got energy. And at the end of the day, I'm lazy and I'm poor. So it's not like I'm that desperate to really make more friends per se, but it would just be nice. It would be nice if for once someone expresses interest, says they want to do something, and they follow through. What's interesting is I actually had a conversation with one of the new friends I made here in LA about this, because she was born and raised in the LA area in Southern California, and I brought up this, problem, this nuisance to her, like, why do y'all do this? And she said, that's very interesting. I never thought about it as something that could be annoying or frustrating. It's just a part of the way she grew up. It's a part of the culture that everyone says they want to do everything, but that in reality, everyone's only going to do one thing, or maybe nothing. And so she is used to, as the days and weeks go by and people propose different things, just saying like, yes, of course, 100%, totally, I'm down, count me in. But then she knows that when that actual day comes, she can only really do one thing, even though she says she's going to do 4. And here it's just kind of accepted that like people are not going to show up more often than not. And so she's never really thought about it as an issue or a nuisance. Whereas, on the East Coast, we have more hustle culture, more business culture, more of a focus culture. And so it's like, okay, this weekend, I might have 7 things going on. They're all on my calendar. It's very structured. And if someone says, can you meet me Saturday, 2 p.m. for ice cream? It's like, I have this other thing till 1, and then I have this other thing at 3. No, I can't meet you at 2 because I need that 1 hour to go do, travel to these other things. Like, people are way more structured and organized with their time, and people, I feel like, are just more realistic about their time and about the things that they realistically can and cannot commit to. And I really miss that. I really do. Because it makes it hard to build and deepen relationships with people here when you feel like everyone is kind of a maybe. A maybe to anything and everything. And even when people invite you to things, they assume that you might be a maybe, and if enough other people are maybes, then that thing will not happen. So like, I even had a friend that wanted to do like a little dinner, a little get together. They messaged the whole group thread. They're like, oh, like, I want to do this, who's down? Everybody said they're down, But then they ended up not hosting the dinner because they were like, oh, everyone said they were down, but I know this person doesn't show up, and then this other person, you know, they're kind of shady, like, so I wasn't sure. And then if it's only 2 or 3 people, then I don't know if it's worth it. So it's just like everything is up for debate and always like if and maybe possibly. And it's just no way to live for me. I like clarity. I like, you know, predictability. I like things to be defined. And so it's something that really was a huge frustration to me for the longest time. Honestly, today it kind of still is, but I think the difference is now my expectations have been leveled severely. But even then, it still sucks. I think especially when it comes to dating, like I've definitely had guys like, you know, see me and stop and be like, oh my God, you're so beautiful and I love your hair and this, that, and the other. Like definitely like let's get coffee, let's meet up. And on one hand, you're like, oh, this guy literally stopped to talk to me and asked for my Instagram, so he must be interested. But then on the other hand, he's a Californian. So does it really mean anything? And more often than not, it doesn't really mean that much. Like they have no intent of actually following through. It's just kind of like, you know, do things and then see what the universe brings back to you. I'm not really sure what the idea is there, but it's just super weird. And I wish someone had told me about it years ago when I first moved here, because it really does make social life a bit annoying. And by a bit, I mean a lot. A lot annoying. I think I would have 20x more friends and dates and everything else if people actually followed through on things. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the flakiness. It's annoying. You need to just figure out who your non-flaky friends are and know who the flaky people are and act accordingly at the end of the day. So when flaky people invite me to things or try to schedule things, I don't waste my time and energy running around trying to make definitive concrete plans with them, because I know that at the end of the day, it's still going to be a maybe. And then if I have to choose between one plan with a flaky person and one plan with a non-flaky person, I'm going to just commit to the non-flaky person and call it a day. So that makes life a lot easier for me. It gives me a lot less anxiety and frustration. And so, you know, I hope that anyone else who has just moved to California or the West Coast or is thinking about it, that you keep that in mind. And try not to get so worked up and so annoyed, because it's definitely a huge part of the culture and you'll definitely see it and it sucks. So I'm curious, do you guys have any thoughts on flakiness? Do you hate it? Do you not mind it? Do you feel like it's totally fine? Comment below and definitely subscribe and like this video. Trying to get to 1,000 followers, so help a sister out, and talk to you guys next time.